G'day everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris Orme, and today we're here to talk about the NFL draft once again. This time a little bit look at the wider picture within the AFC West. We've broken down and graded the Broncos draft picks in a short form and a longer form video. So this is just going to be a quick recap on the AFC West and the draft classes for the four teams in the division. The Broncos, Kansas City Chiefs, Las Vegas Raiders, and the LA Chargers. That being said, how you doing? Yeah, like I say, it's an interesting draft. I think it's a very interesting draft from a Broncos point of view, in that I'm not sure how good we got compared to the rest of the teams. I obviously know more about the Broncos than the other teams. I obviously know more about our picks than the other teams. So it's a little bit more kind of hit and miss when I'm going to give my opinions. But I'm going to try and round this video up in a way to evaluate who got better, who didn't, who filled needs, who didn't, and kind of look at the whole picture within the AFC West for the upcoming season. So that being said, we'll start at the top. Don't like saying that. With the Kansas City Chiefs. I know there's some Chiefs fans out there. I've got some friends who are Chiefs fans. I mean, we can't all be perfect. We can't all love the Broncos. So, yeah, I mean, let's start things off. I'm going to break down the teams a little bit. So, very short form. They've got the best QB in the league. Patty Mahomes, just, what the kid can't do, you don't need to do in today's games. He wouldn't be as good in other sort of generations of football, but got a lot of what you need, and the attitude to get better. I think he's only gonna get better. His play recognition, when he's figuring out what scheme the defense is running, when he's figuring out plays, when he's figuring out player tendencies, being able to look off a man. Some of that can improve, but generally he's the best quarterback in the league. Gonna fight for that title over the next few years with some great young quarterbacks. But hey, he's leading the pack. Alongside him, I think it's a decent OL. I don't think it's a great defensive line. One thing they did pre-draft was they brought in Orlando Brown Jr. from the Ravens. They gave up number 31 overall, 94 overall, 136 overall, and a 5th round pick in 2022. They got back number 58 in this draft and a 6th rounder in 2022. So the way I look at it, you downgrade next year a 5th to a 6th. Not too bad of a drop. Still a day 3 pick. Probably still going to catch someone falling or take a risk on someone. It's not too bad. I think that's okay, to be fair. If you want to do, you could probably trade a 7th with that 6th and get back up into the 5th. It's not much, really, of a drop-off. So I'm okay on that. Which means what you're really trading are the other picks of note. I see it as 58 for 94 and 136. Not a great trade, but a pretty decent trade. And that means with a 31st pick in this draft, the Chiefs select Orlando Brown Jr., 25-year-old left tackle. Birthday is today, day of recording, day after the draft. Drafted in 2018, 3rd round, 83rd overall. Started as a right tackle first season. Was an alternate to the Pro Bowl, and then invited to the Pro Bowl through injuries, ruling out other people. Again on the right side of that offensive line in 2019. 2020, he moved over to the left tackle for the Ravens and was a Pro Bowler again. I think he's actually got better in each season. There's a few penalties. There's not too many. I think he's definitely surprised me. I thought he was a little bit too big, maybe, to be functional and use that strength properly. And we're seeing some of that, but I think he's cleaned up a lot of the issues I had with him coming out of college. And he's hit the ground running. 3 good seasons already. and he's a Pro Bowl left tackle last year. Really in the league, the two that really impressed me are him and Garrett Bowles. I didn't expect either of them to have great seasons. They both did. Broncos got one, Chiefs got another. Broncos find a nice little quarterback play to go with the rest of their team. I think that's a nice battle we have in the AFC West. So the great pickup. I think the trade makes sense. The amount they spent. It looks interesting at first, but when you break it down, I think both teams get what they want from it. And yeah, I can't see an issue. And Patrick Mahomes gets his protection, which is badly needed. So yeah, I can't see too bad there. So that's a good all-line pickup. There's weapons in the wide receiver core. There's a great tight end that, of course, probably the best in the league, Travis Kelce. Solid running back room. I'm not thrilled with it, but I don't think there's a weakness, really. You could add to it, but you don't need to. Same with the defensive line. I think it's pretty decent there. Some good players, solid, nothing too spectacular. Linebackers need work. I don't love the linebackers over at Kansas City. I think they needed help there going into the draft. Cornerbacks, I think, are underrated. They're not great, but a lot of people don't give them the credit they probably deserve. And they keep finding a way to get that safety and entire secondary, really. I was going to say safety and corner, but secondary, the defensive backs, they don't look great on paper in general, but one or two names always stand out, and as a unit, they work well enough. So, cornerbacks underrated, safeties are good. Honey Badger, enough said with that. So, yeah, going into the draft then. Going into the draft, we're going to open things up. First round pick has gone. That's Orlando Brown Jr. So we slide into the second, pick 58. It's endish of the second round. And they get Nick Bolton. I like Nick. I think he's a solid linebacker prospect. I think he does fill a need. Like I said, that linebacking core needed work, and the first pick they've got, they go in. So they trade away their first, get that protection for Patty, in with Nick Bolton. I had him as my linebacker 7. I do think better names are on the board that I think would have been better pickups. 5'11", maybe 6 foot. Some sites measure him differently. A lot of places have him around the 235 mark. But yeah, speedy, athletic, good run blocker. He processes the game quite well. That's what I saw on tape, is someone that has good instincts and kind of reads the field quite well. He's tough. He loves to come up and blitz if you want to blitz with a linebacker. He's a little undersized. He lacks a little bit of size there. And his coverage ability isn't great. So that's why I think I had him down a little bit more. Honestly, I think he could start year 1 for the Chiefs. I think there's a hole there. I don't think he's amazing, but if he's not a year 1 starter, he's definitely a year 2 starter. Love zone concepts. Bit of a Mike linebacker, realistically. But I don't know. I just see him fitting there for them. And they definitely needed someone. So, yeah, kudos to them. They've gone and improved the line through a trade. And then they've gone out into the draft, second round pick, and they've taken a linebacker. Obviously, they like the Missouri guy. You can't fault that. Stays in Missouri. Hey, they're going to do what they're going to do, and they like it. I don't love the pick, but I like it enough. Solid pick. Talking about solid picks, I think a really solid pick here into the second round as well with their pick. Penultimate pick of the round, of course. But yeah, Creed Humphrey, center, Oklahoma. He's huge, 6'4", 300. Some places have him listed as high as a 6'5", 320. I think he's 6'4", though. Yeah, former wrestler from Oklahoma. You've got to love that kind of makeup in your team. Strength is good. Intelligence is good. He knows how to use his body and his frame to get around people and just sort of lock them down, wrap them up. Brilliant. Great anchor on him as well. That's something that I don't think people talk about enough with Creed. I like his anchor. I like his agility. He's quite light on his feet when he wants to be. He's tough as well. There's no give. He's a 3-year starter. He does lack power in the run game. He's not great at opening up holes, but then again, I don't think the Chiefs are running the ball a ton. And if they are, it's Patty Mahomes and it's a broken pocket and he's running outside. So I don't think they run through Creed. And anyway, like, have the guard and the left tackle, Orlando Brown Jr., open up a hole and let them run through that. I don't think he needs to. Slightly limited athlete. I don't think he's the best athlete out there. Kind of plays the A gap only, but if you can isolate him within a very narrow role in that way, I think he's a long-term starter. I think he can slide to guard. I don't know. He's my best center on the board. I had him O-line 4 overall. I don't include tackle. That's interior only when I talk about the O-line. So, yeah, O-line 4, my center 1. Year 2 onwards, I think he can start. You could probably start him year 1. You've just got to play to his strengths. If you do that, 10 years onwards, a decade of Creed Humphreys anchoring that line. Orlando Brown Jr., you probably got 8+ years at left tackle. Mahomes, you've got another decade there. So, you're starting to see why these picks are making sense now for Kansas City. Yeah, kind of like that one. Hey, this one's interesting. 4th round, 144 overall. Josh Cain, though. Defensive end, Florida State. I mean, there's some stuff I really like. 6'6", maybe 6'7", 250 to 260 pounder. Big guy, like massive guy. A lot of people like him at defensive end in a 4-3. I think he's a decent rusher. He can, he's a stand-up rusher, or he can go into a 3-point stance. Good tools. I really like his length. He shows great control. His hands are kind of vicious and quick when they want to be. Got a couple of decent moves. I think it's a reach for me. I don't think this is the best pickup. I do think other options were there, especially if you wanted a 4-3 defensive end. I think there was 3 or 4 names I'd easily put ahead of him. He's raw. Consistency issues, and I think that's big. You kind of need to work that out, otherwise he's just not going to make it at this level. Some injury concerns as well. I know a couple of teams are talking about some of the injuries he carried. Not too many major ones, I don't think, but there was enough there to sort of hesitate teams maybe why a few didn't go for him. But I do think it's a solid pick in the 4th round, but like I had him as 26th edge overall. I think I had him sort of 12th or 11th on the defensive end rushers. I tend to group the edges up a little more. Looking at him as a defensive end, though, I think he's a bit better, but he's a development prospect. He's true boom or bust for me. I really think if you can clean up those inconsistencies, if you can teach him a few more things that he's missing from his games, couple of moves, and just get him a little bit more sort of explosive work on a little bit more pace, I think you could have a great rusher. And you've paid a very small cost. But I do think it's a development prospect. It's going to take maybe until year 3 to get the job done. And he's got to stay healthy. 100% got to stay healthy. So, I don't love that pick. I don't think it's the best out there. Talking of that, I mean, Noah Gray from Duke, good tight end, put up big numbers for Duke. I think he's their all-time leading tight end in terms of receptions and yards and a few other things, or at least in the picture for a lot of those kind of stats. 6'3", 6'4", 240, big guy, good hands. I like him. I think as a tight end, he's a captain, strong leadership abilities. He runs good routes. Like I said, the hands, I don't see too many drops. I don't see too many technique issues. He moves his body kind of well. He's a willing blocker. He's not a great blocker. He's willing. He's tough. He takes a good hit. He's quite athletic. He's a former quarterback as well, so he kind of understands more than just tight end play. His stats were padded by a lot of underneath throws. You saw a lot of short, quick routes, getting the ball out early to him. Didn't really add too much after the carry. He's more solid than spectacular. He's not going to be a Travis Kelce kind of player. He could be a complimentary receiver, though, in that offense. You've got Tyreek Hill as your home run. Kelce as your kind of mid-range threat. A couple of the wide receivers that look like they can do some business for them. And then you bring in a Noah Gray for those short routes. And if you don't want Mahomes to scramble, you kind of like a little dink and dunk, a couple of yards here, a couple of yards there. I think he does a decent enough job. He's more like, in year 2, I see him like as a hybrid player, but perhaps like a hitchback or an F tight end. Yeah. 2 tight end sets, him and Kelce, I think could work. But yeah, I mean, I had him down at tight end 60, and I think there's too many limitations. And even in round 5, I think there's slightly better options out there. But he will play special teams. He will be a decent option. But again, I didn't love this pick here. I didn't think Kansas City had the best sort of. Didn't think they had the best 5th round at all. We fall in them with Cornell Powell, and yeah, 6 foot, 205 pounder, wide receiver from Clemson. Production. That's all I need to say about it. There's production. He'll play on the special teams. He's an athlete. He is agile, and he loves to get that football. He's so adept at just plucking it out of the air. He's not really a big man. He's not really someone that wins at that high point due to strength or boxing out the corners. But he always seems to know where the ball is. He's got some great instincts in that regard. And I think this is my favorite pick, sort of day 3, that they picked up, to be honest. I don't like the other 2 that came before. I think Powell's a really good option. He lacks explosive speed, but then again, you've got others that do that for you. He's a 1-year starter. It took a little bit to get into the team. It took 5 years to get there. Some great wide receivers ahead of him for sure, but when he got there, he produced. It does make me question why it took so long and why he never got any real looks before that. But I don't know. I'm a bit split on Powell, but I really like him. You just would have liked to see more in college than you did. I think he's a rotation option. Now you can put him in sub packages, 3 wide receiver sets for certain, 5 receiver sets. You could definitely put him in with, you put Kelce, you put Gray, you put Powell, you put Hill. I'm not sure who else I'd add to that lineup. It's a bit of an interesting group that, so I'm not sure who else would go in there, and I'm not too familiar. I can't think of another wide receiver I really like from Kansas City at the moment, so I could just be missing someone, but my brain's gone blank, so yeah, I think he's a decent fit in that way, but he's definitely a developmental prospect, and there's questions as to why he couldn't get into the Clemson team before his senior year. When he did, he was terrific. I don't know. Question marks there, I think. And then, hey, the big man, Trey Smith. Kind of like this one. I do kind of like this one. There are concerns. There are definitely concerns. Blood clots that came back in 2018 in his lungs. Okay, he played through it in 2019. 2020 was kind of a crazy year. So who knows what would have happened if Corona wasn't a thing. Honestly, though, I really like him. I think he's a very good player. Guard out of Tennessee, 6'5.5", 320 to 330 pounds, depending. I think he can add a little bit more if you want him to be a big body guard. I think he can slim down a touch if you want him to be a bit skinnier. I see him as a gap power fit. I like him at 330, sort of just under 6'6". I think he starts year 2. I think this is a much better pick than a lot. I think, really, to be honest with you, the last 2 picks kind of got things back on track. Not a bad tight end, not a bad defensive end. But, yeah. I think overall, it kind of slipped around a little bit. You've got a starting center, a backup tight end, and you've got some other pieces. But I think there's a lot of better players on the board, but Powell I really like, even though he's my wide receiver 22. And then, Trey Smith, I think he was my inside O-line 10. I think he was top 10 at interior for me. So, yeah, he's a Tennessee boy. He's moving to Missouri now. He's a leader. He plays with passion. He leads by example on the field. He's got some power, good motor, great hands at times. Sometimes not so much, but the highlights are there for his hands. He's former left tackle. He slid inside. I think he definitely does stay at guard. I don't think he could play tackle in the NFL, maybe, but I doubt it. Lacks some control. We have some issues there. His technique isn't great. It's inconsistent at times. He does have high hips. I mean, that could be a slight issue, I guess. But I don't know. I just like Trey Smith. I think he's a good prospect. And at this range, 226 overall, 6th-round pick. I think this is a home run in the making. I really like him. As I say, starts probably for me at guard, maybe year 2. And if you can play him in a gap power scheme, I think he's a great fit and an asset to you. So that's the Chiefs picks. I love the 5th. I love the 6th round, sorry. I love Powell in the 5th. Gray, I understand. Cain, though, I think they reach. Humphreys, not for now, but I see the potential there. And Bolton, again, I just kind of see I see them going a different direction and getting some slightly better players. Both now and long term, so a mix of things I like, things I don't like from Kansas City. They definitely improved. They filled some holes. And, hey, they're one of the best teams in the league with the best quarterbacks. You've got to look at it objectively and say that there's not much they could have improved. And they did help themselves. It's not a great draft, but I think it's a solid B- for me. And upside to turn that towards an A-, I think. They did really well with the last 2 picks. I really like that. Chargers. LA Chargers. Not a bad team. Not a great team. Some issues for certain, but they do have a quarterback. Good quarterback, good young quarterback. I think weapons in the tight end room with Cook being there. I think there's weapons in the wide receiver room. I think the O-line is pretty poor. They needed to rebuild it, and boy, have they done that this offseason. They got Lindsley in as a new center. They brought in Fela and Abushi as guards. Brian Bulaga comes in at right tackle, leaving Green Bay. I think that could be a phenomenal pickup. So yeah, they've done a good job. They still need that left tackle, of course, going into this draft. Running back room, bit average, not bad, but doesn't blow me away by any means. I like their defensive line. I think it's pretty strong. Linebackers are okay. Could do a little bit there, I guess. Cornerbacks, I think, need work. They're okay, but I think you need more there. And the safeties, of course, are pretty good. You've got premier player at that position, so I don't think they worry about it. And after getting a right tackle, 2 guards, and a center in free agency, to give themselves the best chance at rebuilding a line to protect their young quarterback, home run hit straight away. 13th overall, 1st round, Rashaan Slater. Should have gone top 10 for me. I think he's my 2nd left tackle, perhaps 3rd. I don't know. I think I like Darisaw a bit more than him. Because I do have a tiny concern with him we'll get to in a second. But yeah. So I think maybe left tackle prospect number 3. Sewell number 1, of course. But very good player. Northwestern, 6'4". Fluctuated between 304, 305, but it says here 304. But from what I've heard, between 305 and about 315 is his play range. He's a plug-and-play left tackle right now, I think. He's intelligent. I really like the way he reads the field. He's been doing some nice things. He's an athlete. Good footwork. Good strength. Opted out in 2020, which is fair enough. I think his draft stock was high enough. So that's fair. My one question is, he might be a better guard. Like, I think he's a good left tackle, and you could play his whole career there and just have a really good career. And that's kind of what you need in LA. The Chargers really need that left tackle now to complete that line. Say they got a good young quarterback. You need that protection. Him on one side, Bulaga on the other. It makes sense. I just feel if you move him to left guard, he's probably an all-pro. Perennial. So I don't know. And like I said, I think Darius, I would have over him at left tackle, who was still on the board. So that's kind of my concern there. But yeah, he is a day one starter, plug and play left tackle. If he fails, move him inside. He completes the O-line rebuild. It's a home run pick because for this upcoming year, you just get better. I'm just not sure long term whether he moves inside. But hey, go draft another left tackle next season. You might have to draft a tackle anyway, even if he does work out, because who knows how long Bulaga's going to be playing there. So, some minor issues, but like nothing crazy at all there. Yeah, really good pick. I'm high on that. I'm kind of high on Asante Samuel Jr. as well. Cornerback of Florida State, I think, pretty good. 5'10", 180s, touch undersized. Consistency issues. I don't think he always played at 100%. And he has a tendency to lose the balls when he's not looking at them. So he doesn't really track them very well when he's sort of facing away from the line of scrimmage. That needs to be worked on. He's not great at turning. He's not good at looking over his shoulder. There's things like that need to be worked on. But his dad was a 4-time Pro Bowler. So you've always got to look at that and realize that he's probably been coached by his dad for a long time. There's so much wealth of experience, not only about playing, but about being a professional and handling yourself, well as a pro. So I really love that aspect. He's a captain. He's a real leader. I think, again, high intelligence player, high football IQ. Solve those minor issues out. I think he'd be great. There's some quickness there. His reactions are good. So if you can get him to see the ball, I think he'll react in the right way and know the play to make. So not a bad second round pickup. I had him as my cornerback 6 due to my concerns. I think he's a fit in zone. He's possibly a year 1 starter in the slot. Loves man coverage. He is undersized, as I say. You think he can play boundary as an undersized corner, but I think I prefer him in the slot. And he can play there year 1, whereas boundary, I think, is a year 2 onward. So, depends what you're looking for, but I really do love the fact that they let the ball fall to them. So, the board fall to them twice. They got a left tackle that they needed, even if he might not be able to play there. They got a boundary corner that can fail his way into the slot in Asante as well. It's just a really solid first couple of rounds for the Chargers. There's very little to dislike. I love when teams let the board fall to them. I love when they pick a player high up on my big board. And he was a little lower, but you can definitely see why they took him, and he's a very decent player. Even if he's a slot guy, I mean, it's a great pickup in the second round for me. So no issues there whatsoever with this pick. And Josh Palmer, wide receiver out of Tennessee, 6'1", 210, vertical threat. He's tough. He is strong. He loves to compete. A little bit of a bully at times. Not really aggressive enough at times, but just physically kind of outcompetes people. Production is lacking. Didn't really put up too many points or yards, but he is raw. A little inconsistent. Again, I think he's still kind of learning his way into things. He will get better in the pros with the level of coaching he's going to get. I definitely believe that. Not a ton of speed, but again, probably going to be an X receiver, so doesn't need it too much. My one issue is I had him down as my 29th rated wide receiver, and he went in the third. That's tough to understand. It's tough to understand. Mid-round third. Had a late fifth, early sixth round grade on him. It's a deep wide receivers class. There's got to be something they love about him. I don't see it, and I don't know too many people that do right now. So yeah, quite low. De'Ami Brown was on the board, and you passed him, who's like a high second rounder maybe, to go for Josh Palmer. Now De'Ami slid for reasons, but I don't know. I find it hard to fall in love with this pick when a better position player is there. I don't think it's a bad pick. I don't think it's a bad player. There are question marks, but this is the first one that left me scratching my head a little for the Chargers. After two great picks, I thought this one was a little underwhelming. Then we got Trey McKitty. Trey McKitty, I think, is interesting. Again, poor production. Poor production again. A little bit of a reach again. I had a 5th round grade, so they pick up 2 5th rounders with their 3rd round picks. Did have a knee scope, and unsure exactly what his health situation is. I think it's okay. And that's why he would have been down a little bit with those concerns for me. Possibly a 4th round. You get him late 3rd. I mean, I don't hate it at all. He was actually my tight end 7. He was pretty decently up there. Yeah, he's got a great catch radius. I think he runs his routes really well. Good hands, capable blocker, good size. And he does offer some yards after the catch as well. I really do think that's something they can work on and develop. I see him maybe taking a year to develop and, limited reps year 1. Year 2, put him in 2 tight end sets with Cook. I think you're good. I think you're good. You got some good wide receivers there. You got some true weapons. Him and Cook on the field, same time. I think that could be fun. I really do. So we're back kind of on board with the pick. It makes sense for the fit and for the scheme and the yards after the catch, which I really like. But he didn't produce in college. There are tiny health issues that they need to be comfortable with. Obviously, they were, because they took him in the 3rd. I do think there were 1 or 2 names I'd have gone for ahead, but the tools are there. The tools are there. You need to get him playing and coach him up a bit, but the tools are there. Don't hate that pick at all. And I think it could turn out to be a very good one year 2, year 3. Chris Rump. I like Chris Rump. Dan's a coach. He's quick. He's got good technique. He produces for you. High intelligence player like most coaches' sons tend to be. And a high motor, a really high motor. I love watching this kid play. I'm not going to love it anymore because he's in the Chargers. But yeah, they needed some depth in that room. They definitely got it, I think. He's not going to be a starter for certain. He's a little undersized. He does lack some power. Quite one-dimensional. He's got a lean frame. He could add to it. I've not seen him play at 240. I think he played about 225 in that kind of range. So he has bulked up, but I don't know if he can play there. Edge 19, some other names were on the board. I think he's a little bit of a developmental guy, but with high upside. Year 2, I think he's definitely a specialist rusher for you. You play in some sub packages. He'll be interesting as well, I feel. I don't know. I like some of his skill set as a rusher, but I don't think he's great there. Moving him to off-ball linebacker could be the play. And so I had him low down on my edges, but I think they might be looking long-term off-ball. And I like the pick a lot more there. I love the player. I don't love the fit on the edge. I love the off-ball potential. And just the high upside. The high upside. So, yeah, I think this is a great pick if they do what I'm expecting them to do. And again, this is a very good draft by the Chargers. I think they kind of really hit it out the park at places not too many sort of head scratches along the way. Austin, Texas boy, Brendan James, tackle out of Nebraska, 6'6", 300. I've got him down as 6'5", 298 here, so ballpark same. Great balance, great anchor. Inconsistent anchor at times, but when it's down, it tends to be down. I like his agility. I think he's great against the run. And his footwork is pretty good as well. So, some work on his technique needs to be done. He does kind of have short-ish arms, poor hands for a tackle. Does lack that top-end power I like there as well. I think he moves to guard. I think that's where you play him. He's my 18th tackle. I didn't rank him as a guard, but looking at him, I think NFL, that's what makes sense. I think he's an immediate backup. I certainly don't think he's a million miles away from a starting position. If he's going to stick a tackle, I think it's definitely right tackle. And like I say, if you want him in there to help, block for a run game, it's a perfect little pickup in the 5th. 159th overall, great pickup at that space. There are some limitations, but moving him to guard solves those. And if you can overcome them, right tackle, you've got yourself an absolute steal. So, solid pick. Nothing spectacular, but solid. And then we get to Nick Nieman. I mean, 6'3", 230. Iowa. Yeah, another linebacker. Another linebacker for the Nieman boys, eh? His brother plays for the Chiefs. His dad's a coach. I'm not sure whether his dad's a coach, is it? I think it's in the NFL somewhere. But anyway, he had a good pro day. He had a really good pro day. A lot of Iowa people did, to be fair. But he's just an athlete. He's going to offer you a lot on special teams. He's going to be a big tackler. He's so controlled. He never seems to be out of position or lose himself. Makes adjustments when tackling. Doesn't process the best, not the highest IQ player I've seen. Don't love him in coverage. Don't think he's going to be great there. He's definitely more against the run. A little late to pick up some of the play coverages that he needs to be in. Yeah, minor injury concern again. Probably would do a lot better if you added some muscle on those legs. I think he lacks a little bit of lower body strength. My 16th linebacker, I don't think he's a terrible pick here. 6th round, 185. Boom or bust. Boom or bust. If things go well, I think he ends up better than some of the names taken in the 3rd round. And I think if you're going to take a gamble, it's definitely going to be here with his dad, his brother, special teams play. I got him down as a year 2, maybe a year 3 starter, but, day 1 special teamer, and I kind of like that pick. I kind of like that pick in that range. I also like this pick, running back out of Missouri, Larry Roundtree III. 5'10", 5'11". I think he played at around 210, 215. Mature is the word I hear about this game. Great maturity. Offers some production. Good pass catcher. Or at least a raw pass catcher. But you can see what he can be. I like his instincts. I think, again, he's another control player. Doesn't seem to be anything reckless about him at all. He's a workhorse for you. He's not a racehorse, he's a workhorse. Definitely lacks that first step. Lacks a little bit of top-end speed. One thing I don't like really about him is there's no yards after the first contact. There's no broken tackles. He can't seem to get away from people. Sort of catches it out to the backfield fairly well. I think that's where he'll find a niche role in the NFL. I just don't see him breaking out for extra yards with his pace, or with his agility, or with his technique. So yeah, bit of a long shot, but again, this is where I gamble is 6th, 7th round. These are the picks that either I'm stopping getting to be college free agents. I don't want to compete with other teams. Or they're the limited people I think I can coach up. So yeah, my 18th running back, again, better names are on the board, but this is the range I take, a pass catcher anyway, so I don't hate it for that. Definitely won't play year 1 for me. I think year 2, year 3, he could find some work as a third down specialist. A lot of people are really low on him. I kind of like him, but there are definite limitations, so definitely swinging for the fences on this one. Probably going to fail, but you admire the swing. And Mark Webb, safety out of Georgia. 6'1.5", 210, tough tackling machine, athletic. Used to play wide receiver, so he understands the other side of the ball and the people that he's kind of tracking. Good special teams player day 1, I think. Not great in coverage, but I think he can pick it up. He's very raw, like I say, former wide receiver, so he's still learning the position. It's always a risk when you take a DB that's learning the position in the draft, but again, 7th round, 241 overall, why not take a swing for the fences? I had him quite low down because of how raw he is. He was my 30th rated safety. There's some great players still available I would have gone instead, but hey, I think they love the ceiling. I think they do love the ceiling. They see the rawness, but believe they can coach him up over 2 or 3 years. I think he could turn into a decent third safety. I don't know if he gets more than that. He could play the nickel if he wanted to. I think safety is where I keep him. But this might be a practice squad player year 1, and then a depth player year 2 that doesn't dress for games mainly. And then year 3, I think, is when he starts coming in, the third safety, to be honest. And I don't hate that in the 7th round. I think the Chargers had a good draft. There were a couple of interesting picks when other people were on the board, for sure. They did well to fill some needs. I love how they've picked some of their players up here. And like I say, they've rebuilt that offensive line, and the big thing was getting a left tackle. They got that. And then in the 2nd, they went and got a corner that I think fills a slot need really nice. Palmer's interesting at wide receiver. Trey's interesting at tight end. Both lack production, though. Rump, James, Nieman, Roundtree. I like all those guys for various reasons, and Webb, yeah, could turn out. So overall, really solid draft for the Chargers. Got better, filled a couple of needs. That's what it's all about. And they got a brand new offensive line. They've got 5 new bodies out there if they wanted to. So why not? Like, the secondary's been good. I think it gets better. Their offensive line needed work. They've done that work. Chargers normally look good, don't play good. We'll see. We'll see. That's all I can really say on them, to be honest with you, because I don't know yet. And we've been burnt so many times by the fact that they look good and then don't play good. But yeah, so far, that draft looks good to me. Yeah, the Raiders. I don't love the quarterbacks. I think Carr's decent, but he's not great. He's an average quarterback. Likes to play it quick. If he doesn't play it quick, not a lot happens, so fair enough. Mariota, I think, is a great backup quarterback, great option to have. A couple of weapons of wide receiver I kind of like. It's a sneakily good wideout room. Tight ends I like. Solid O-line. Did lose Trent. So Trent Brown is out at right tackle. Yeah. But I like their running back room as well. I think if you can solve the rest of that O-line, you can really look at overcoming poor quarterback play. Which, they got average quarterback play. I think, you let the wide receivers, the tight ends do the work. You install that running game. And they've kind of got the offensive line to do that. Defense, secondary needs work for sure. I don't love that. It's not too bad, but it's definitely the weakest in the division. And there are some real weapons at wide receiver, at tight end, and 2 good quarterbacks at least in this division that the Raiders are going to have to play twice. So secondary needs a lot of work from that context. But they're not too far down in terms of the league, I think. Linebackers are okay, got some pieces, but I don't love it. Definitely, again, think they're a bit weak at times against coverage. But I think they've got an identity they're working towards, and I like their defensive line. So, yeah, they do need that defensive help for sure. So we walk in, round 1, pick 17, Alex Leatherwood. Where do I start? I love Alex Leatherwood. Let's start there. Love his hands. Good power, good size, nice reach. He's durable. He's athletic. He's got a great motor. I love him in the 3rd round. I really like him in the 2nd round. 1st round, late 1st round, it's a reach, but you like your guy, you go get him. Not got too many problems with that. 17 on the board. 17. Christian Darrisaw, my 2nd left tackle, sitting there. Don't understand the Raiders. I really don't. Even the Raiders fans don't understand the Raiders in the draft. They keep doing it. Mayock, Gruden, Chucky, just like, I don't know what they're thinking. Like, I don't know. I really don't know. I like the player. I like the fit. I see where they're going. I hate the value. I think that's it. There's some issues with penalties. I'm not sure they're going to get cleaned up at I almost said Oakland, at the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm not sure that they're going to clean those up. They like players that play on the edge like that. He started off okay in college, kind of regressed slightly, fell down the boards because of that. He's got stiff legs. They're not going to need him to be very agile there, but yeah, I actually had him as my 8th offensive tackle, and I think my left tackle number 6. No, left tackle number 5, sorry. And offensive tackle number 6. Number 8. I'm so like blown away by this pick that I can't even think and talk. It's very difficult. That being said, I do think you can play him year 1. I think he can start at right tackle year 1. I think he will get better over time in the NFL. I don't see any left guard or left tackle to him. I think he's career right tackle, and if he fails there, maybe right guard. I don't know. He has guard ability, but there's better players on the board. This is a reach, as much as I like the player. If they take him with their 2nd round pick and take their 2nd round pick with their 1st, I've got no issue. So let's stop hating on it and say Trevor Merrick is a stud. He's the top safety in this class. TCU, 6'1", 205-ish. Versatile, for sure. He can play a lot of ways. A good range. He's an absolute ball hawk. Definitely the best player available. Definitely the top safety in this class. And yeah, aggression gets away from him at times. Needs to get a little bit of control. Again, I don't know whether the Raiders do anything about that, because they like players that play on that edge. But year 1 starter, can definitely play single high cover 1, cover 3. Probably a free safety is where he can thrive in the NFL. I wouldn't mind playing him in the box at times. Can get beat by a double move. I think that's his one real weakness. He sees the route and he kind of overcommits at times. And I think that's an issue as well with the aggression. He kind of commits a little early and a little too much. Doesn't leave himself any options in case the play changes. But I think you can clean those up. I'm not sure how much of it the Raiders want to clean up, especially on the aggression front. But you love the motor, you love the skill set, the tools, the fit. He's a Raider through and through. And if he goes 17th overall, people will be saying it's a touch high, but to get the first safety off the board, yeah, I don't think they have a problem. So swap these picks. I'm a lot higher on them. And I think as soon as they got Merrick, I thought that was that made so much sense for the Raiders. And obviously they didn't think Leatherwood would fall. But yeah, a little bit of an interesting strategy, but hey, your 1 and 2 picks are the players that you need them to be. That's fine. And again, you needed help in that secondary. You've just got big help in that secondary. Malcolm Kuntz, defensive end from Buffalo, 6'2", just under 250. There's a lot to like. There is a lot to like. There's good bend. He's got long arms. He's got a very nice rip move that shows up on tape. I like that a lot. He's quite flexible. I don't love the edges in Raiders. I think there's very high upside to them, but I don't love where they currently are as a room. So I think you needed to add to it. Kuntz is a good add there. He's raw. He's undersized. He doesn't really bring a lot on that defensive line, apart from as a rusher. He was injured through the draft process as well, so teams do have some concerns. And for me, there was a few other rushers there, like the edge class. I think they fall off after the 3rd round. I did have, however, Kuntz listed as number 2021 on the list. He was around that. So, yeah, I think this is a reach. Year 2, he can slide in that rotation, but I don't think he's a starter in this team until maybe year 3 on his ability. But looking at who else is in that room, and in 2 to 3 years, they should still be there and be better players. I don't love a mid-round 3rd when I don't see how he gets into the team. So again, so many question marks in terms of how the Raiders are actually putting their drafts together, because I just don't understand. And neither do their fans. Neither do their fans. Divine Diablo, very decent player, named Divine to counteract the Diablo by his parents. I think that's kind of fun. A lot of places have him listed as a linebacker. A lot of others have safety. I think he plays safety. I think year 2, he can be a dime backer for you. Needs that year to kind of learn. Long term could definitely sort of stay there. He may be a linebacker, maybe a bit of a run specialist there. I don't know. He could end up as a 3rd safety. I think you've got options with this kid. I really do. Virginia Tech played quite well. High character. Kind of unusual for the Raiders, but I think this is a really high character guy. Loves that role in the box. Like I say, he will be a box safety specialist if that's where you want to use him. He's tough, high motor, great on special teams too. He is a former wide receiver. He is still learning. He's kind of raw, a little limited athletically. And because of his rawness, like, play recognition is a little lacking right now. Bit of a project. But I think give him a year to learn. Give him a limited role year 2. And you may look at a box safety or safety 3 or dime backer as his long-term fit. So I really don't hate it. My 10th rated safety in this class. That's pick 17 in round 3. And then round 4, pick 38. They go get Tyree Gillespie. 143 overall. Missouri safety. 6'207". Everything I said in terms of position but the last pick kind of fits here too. Box safety, maybe safety number 3. I don't think he's got what it takes to be a dime backer. He's a little smaller, 6 foot, 207. I think Divine Diablo is like 6'3", so it's a little bit lower. But yeah, great instincts, physical, good special teams, good tackling, good size. They traded up. I think it's a little bit of a reach because I like Divine Diablo, and I think he does everything that Gillespie does. There were question marks as well. I mean, the Broncos took 2 safeties in the same round. So, the same round? I think it was the same round. It might have been separate rounds as well, but yeah. Anyway, it's very similar. I think Las Vegas took them earlier. And I think I prefer the Broncos pairing to this pairing, but yeah, it's, I don't know, it's just Raiders football that nobody outside of the Raiders management understand. I think that's what it is. But I like the player again. I don't think there's a high ceiling. I think he's definitely long-term going to be a backup, sort of safety 3. Good box safety at times. Lacks the play recognition, poor in coverage. But I like his size. I like his tackling. I like his special teams ability. I mean, him and Diablo really help special teams. And in 2, maybe 3 years' time, I wouldn't be surprised to see him maybe safety 2 and 3 on the board, on that depth chart for him at all, to be honest with you. I think they're just too similar, and they were taken quite close together. So unless the board dropped off for them, I don't know why they picked them up. If they got long-term concerns at safety, I don't know. It's not a bad pick. I just don't love the values. Nate Hobbs, 6 foot 180, 195 he bulked up to, but he played around 180 to 185. Decent size. Decent size, cornerback of Illinois. Good speed, aggression, instincts. I like his athletic build. And he's a tackler. He's a run defense corner. He will step up and lay people out at that second level. He does lack the motor and control at times. Play recognition isn't the best, but he does have a lot of time to build up for that. I don't love his coverage. I think he's definitely a slot corner with his size and the way he plays. He started off quite well in college, then his production seemed to decrease year on year, which I find slightly concerning as well. For all those reasons, just as a pure slot options for me, I pushed him all the way down. I think I didn't even rank him at corner, and I ranked 30 corners, so he didn't make that top 30 for me. But I like the player. He's decent, but he's a slot guy. Might start year 2. He could back up the outside, I guess, but I don't love him in coverage, and I think he's a run-first guy. Not a bad pick in that way, but I don't see him being an impact player in the league ever, so I do think other players had that upside. He's probably low ceiling, higher floor than they are, but I'd go boom or bust in this range. Like mid to end of round 5, go boom or bust. Talking of boom or bust, Jimmy Morrissey, center out of Pittsburgh, 6'3", 300-pounder, high intelligence, great motor, low pads, captain material. Absolutely love all of that. Love the person. A little more than I love the player. For certain. I definitely think he fits the Raiders and what they're trying to do on the offensive line. They've got 2 good centers. Like, I don't see where he comes into this lineup. I guess you could lose one and he'll play backup at that point over the next year or 2. I think he only fits in zone. He could slide to guard. I don't love him there. He's definitely a center for me. Probably year 1 is spent on the practice squad as well. He lacks power. He's a little narrow. Hand technique gets sloppy. Doesn't box out people very well. I did have him as my center 4, center 5. And my offensive lineman, he basically came in 20th. I don't think it was a great class in terms of depth. But as a late pick, yeah, swing for the fences, boom or bust. That's Jimmy Morrissey. Don't love the Raiders draft. Don't love the Raiders draft. So, yeah. So who did best? I mean, biasedly, I'm going to say the Broncos because I understand it a lot better, and I think that definitely made some picks. But outside looking in, there's definitely question marks. I can see why the fans wouldn't put the Broncos top at all. But especially if you don't believe in quarterbacks and passing on fields, don't think we're going to get Rodgers, etc. There's a lot of reasons to question parts of it. Objectively, I'm going to say the Chargers. I loved what they did with their first 2 picks. They stumbled a little later on at times, but overall pretty good. The Chiefs didn't have that many picks. They didn't have a first round, so they went and got their big left tackle. Hey, you can't hate what they spent their capital on at all. Yeah, really can't. I like them, but I think Chargers, good draft. Chiefs, solid draft. Raiders, not a bad draft. Just I really struggle to understand the fit for some of those players. And there's a few reaches with other players on the board. There's character concerns that they don't tend to care about. Them and the Cowboys never do. And I would have gone different ways, more with the Raiders than anyone else. Well, that's normal. That's absolutely normal. Sometimes they prove me wrong. Quite often they prove me right. But I'd say, for me, it's Broncos at the top, of course, but the other three, Chargers, Chiefs, and a decent distance down to the Raiders. Gotta be honest. But there we go. That's my roundup for the AFC West in this year's draft. Hit me up in the comment section below. What do you think I got right? What do you think I got wrong? What did they get right? What did they get wrong? How would you grade it? How would you stack the Broncos up against them? And overall, which of the four teams filled the most needs? I think potential needs the Broncos, current needs the Chargers, and like I say, the biggest head scratchers are the Raiders. And the Chiefs had the least work they needed to do. So there we are. That's what we needed to figure out. I think we have. So thank you very much for watching. I say leave your comments in the section down below. Smash that like button if you've enjoyed. Hit subscribe for more content. I'll see you soon. Till then, take care. Behave yourselves. I'll see you soon. Bye.